Today we have another question, and the question is, why is General MacArthur often mentioned in association with the Olympics? Was he an Olympic athlete? Well, unlike some of his other military counterparts, Douglas MacArthur was not an Olympic athlete. He did, however, love athletic competition, and he did have two official roles that tied him to the Olympic Games in Amsterdam in 1928 and the Olympic Games in Tokyo in 1964. MacArthur biographer William Manchester describes American participation in the 1928 Amsterdam Olympics as a MacArthur production. Basically what happened was in 1927, the U.S. Olympic Committee president died, and the Olympic Committee needed a new president before the 1928 Games. Then Major General Douglas MacArthur came to the attention of the committee. He had risen to prominence in athletic circles following his tenure as superintendent of West Point, and the committee offers him the job to be president of the U.S. Olympic Committee. The Chief of Staff of the Army at the time, General Charles P. Summerall, approves this offer, and he allows MacArthur to accept it and to serve on detached duty during the duration of the Olympics. MacArthur traveled to Amsterdam with the U.S. Olympic delegation aboard the SS Roosevelt. The athletes included swimmer Johnny Weissmuller, who would go on to Hollywood fame as Tarzan, and 13-year-old Dorothy Poynton, a diving sensation of the era. And as had happened with the men under his command in the 42nd during the First World War, Team USA quickly became not just his responsibility, but his family. In the Parade of Nations that opened the Olympics, Johnny Weissmuller carried the American flag, followed by MacArthur, who marched into the stadium with Team USA. Throughout the Games, MacArthur was in his element. According to biographer D. Clayton James, MacArthur lived the glories and disappointments of the outcomes as intensely as any of the athletes. During the 10,000-meter race, caught up in the excitement of the race, MacArthur leapt out of the dignitary's box where he was sitting and ran all the way to the ribbon to be there when the victorious athlete crossed the finish line. When the U.S. rowing team was competing, MacArthur had his chauffeur drive parallel to the river as they raced along so that he could cheer them along and experience the thrill of the competition with them. When the U.S. boxing team nearly withdrew from their events in protest of what they perceived as unfair judging, the New York Times reported that MacArthur curtly informed the team manager, "Americans never quit." He also held team meetings, acted as an unofficial coach for most of the athletes, and he later wrote of that time, "Athletes are the most temperamental of all persons, but I stormed and pleaded and cajoled. I told them we represented the greatest nation in the world, that we were there to win, and to win decisively." When the Games closed, the United States finished first in the medal count, ahead of Germany in second and Finland in third. Team USA also held 17 new Olympic records and 7 new world records. The Games were a success for the United States and for MacArthur. Towards the end of his life, MacArthur would be called on to once again save the U.S. Olympic Committee and the team from crisis. At the request of President John F. Kennedy, an 82-year-old MacArthur resolved a dispute between the Amateur Athletic Union and the NCAA that threatened to derail U.S. participation in the 1964 Games in Tokyo. According to President Kennedy, MacArthur's handling of this crisis made American participation in the Tokyo Olympics possible, at a time in American history when a victory in the Olympics meant a victory in the Cold War.